name is Felicia Wright, and this is the Go Rogue podcast. Do you feel stuck? Does every day feel like Groundhog's Day? Well, I'm here to tell you it's time to take charge of your life and know that you are meant for more than this. It's time to go rogue. This podcast is for people that are ready to say enough is enough and discover their new normal with entrepreneurship. Get ready because your rogue journey starts now. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the Go Rogue podcast. This is episode 37 and my name is Felicia Wright, your host. So today I'm going to be talking about what services you can offer and how to find out what you like when it comes to freelancing. Because when I talk to a lot of people, especially clients, they kind of have an awareness of what freelancing is, but most people, and I know I started out like this, I'm like, well, what on earth am I even going to offer? So that is what this episode is all about. Finding those services that you can offer and then doing the ones that you actually like, because we don't want you doing something that you don't want to do, which can happen, but it's okay. It's all a learning experience. So before you hop into anything, just realize that whatever you do, it's all a learning experience and it will benefit you later. And I'll get into how I learned that lesson a little later in this episode. So let's go over some services that you can offer. Of course, this is not an all-inclusive list of things that you can offer, but these are just some of the ones that I really wanted to go over with you, just to give you some ideas and how to get started with them. And then we're going to talk about if you like them or not, and how to find out if you like them or not. So let's go ahead and dive on into that. So the first one, and this is how I got my start, is a social media manager. A social media manager is somebody that manages social media accounts for businesses or clients. Now, I know in the very, very beginning, when I heard this term, I was like, social media manager, people hire for that? Yes, people hire for that because there's an expectation when you go to a business, you expect them to have an active social media account. And a lot of businesses, business owners, they just simply do not have the time to keep up with the tweet, to constantly post. It's actually a lot of work. So people are willing to hand that off to somebody that actually likes it, wants to do it, and they're willing to pay for it because they see the value in having their business on social media. It's actually really, really important. So social media manager. So if you like social media, if you love Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, social media manager is definitely something that you should explore. Now, I mentioned all those platforms. You don't have to offer all those platforms. I know social media managers that only offer Instagram, and that is it. So when I said LinkedIn or Twitter and you hate those, you don't have to offer those. Offer the ones that you like. Say maybe you love Snapchat and Instagram. Just offer those two things. Now, I will be honest, I haven't seen in my experience, I haven't seen many business owners want Snapchat, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any out there. Maybe I've just never run into any. So if you love Snapchat and Instagram, just offer those. So keep that in mind. So social media manager is the route I went starting out, and that is another route that you can go over. The next one I want to go over is a VA or virtual assistant. Now, a virtual assistant is kind of this term that's all encompassing, but I always think of it as like general VA work. Now, there's general VAs, there's tech VAs, there's social media VAs. And the difference between a social media manager and social media manager and a virtual assistant social media manager is that the social media manager specializes in growth hacking, meaning they know how to grow an account for you. If it's a virtual assistant, they're more just posting for you. You give them the content, they're going to post for you. That's the way I see it now. Other people might see it differently, and that's okay. But virtual assistant, most of the time, it's general VA work, which could be email management, just doing little little tasks online that the business owner just doesn't have time for, scheduling for them, making sure their appointments are on the books and stuff like that. So when it comes to a virtual assistant, it's kind of hard to hammer down exactly what you would do because it varies from client to client and it varies pretty drastically. So if you want to get started in the virtual assistant realm, think about if you're open to learning anything, that's a good way to be. Or when you're picking up clients, just see what they're looking for and if you can do it. So virtual assistant's pretty broad, but most of the time it's a lot of general, like you kind of catch any balls that might fall for that client. Next one is an OBM. An OBM is an online business manager. So an OBM, and to be honest, I never offered OBM services. I don't know a lot about it, but an OBM is somebody that manages the business for a client. So for the most part, so say it is one person at the top, they have a personal brand. And that person at the top, the client basically, they're kind of the visionary for their own business. But when it comes down to managing a team and putting systems in place and the nitty gritty of the business, the day in, day out functions, that's something the OBM would handle for that client. They help them manage their team. They help them figure out what they should be doing day to day. That is what an OBM does. So an online business manager, they help that client with the day in, day out functions. So it's actually a really cool gig. I know a couple people that do and they love it. So if you love managing situations, OBM is for you. And then the next one, a website developer. Now, this is the one that when I first got started, I did social media management, but I always wanted to build websites. I love the idea of the technical aspect of website builds and putting websites together. I love the idea of it, to be completely honest with you. So I thought that was something I wanted to offer. So I was starting to explore like how to do it and learning more and more about it. But I discovered the more I looked into it, the more I hated it, actually. It's not my strength. It just is not. And in the beginning, I was trying to make it my strength. I was like, oh, it's because, I don't know much. I got to learn WordPress and all this stuff. And the more I did it, the more I realized I'm like, this is not for me at all. So I did a little bit experimentation and website developer, making websites for people. Thankfully, I never took on a client to do that because at first I was offering it, but after doing it enough for myself, I realized I'm like, yeah, this isn't something I want to offer. While I can do it, I've built 3 different websites. I can do it, but it's such a pain in the butt. For me, it's a pain. So I'm not trying to scare you off, but it might be your thing. So just keep that in mind. So website developer is another choice. So you could build websites on WordPress, Showit, Squarespace, Wix. Those are all the places where you can build websites. There might be more that I'm just not aware of, but those are some of those options. The next thing that you can offer is you can become a tutor. If you're a former teacher like myself, maybe you want to still work with kids a little bit, but you don't want to be in the classroom, which I totally respect. You can offer tutoring services because all a freelancer is somebody that offers a service. They work for themselves, but they offer a service to people. So you can become a tutor. Another one I wanted to go over is digital marketer. Digital marketers, they deal with social media, building funnels, marketing, ads, digital marketing. So that's something that you can explore further. Graphic designer, if you enjoy putting together pretty things, pretty graphics, graphic designers for you. If you want to explore that, you can definitely head over to Canva because it's free. Head over to Canva. It's Canva, and I think it's a .com, canva.com. And it is a free platform where you can put together social media graphics. I still use Canva to this day, actually, to put together my graphics because it's basically for the beginner or somebody that doesn't have the Adobe Suite. Adobe Suite is basically Photoshop and Illustrator, stuff like that. So you can try that out and play around over there and see if you like it. I know personally, that was another one that I was like, maybe I could be a graphic designer. And then I actually have Adobe Suite. I use Adobe all the time. I record on Audition, but when I first started out, I tried graphic design. I was like, let me check out Photoshop, Illustrator and stuff. And I saw all those buttons and ran for the hills. So not for me. But I tried and I checked it out. So graphic designer is something that you can explore. And I suggest if you're just starting out, head over to Canva and just play around. The next one is a photographer. You can offer your services if you love taking pictures, you have a good camera, and you know how to edit. Then head over and then we offer photography services to people. There's always families looking for somebody to take pictures of anything, family, weddings, anything you can think of. So photography is one of the things that you can offer. And the last thing I wanted to go over is you can offer podcast management. So I am a podcast host, and there are a lot of other podcast hosts that have a personal brand like me, but they don't have time to manage their own podcasts because when it comes to podcasts, you have to edit out any mistakes. I am a one-run girl. I tend not to edit out mistakes. If you listen to this podcast, you'll hear mistakes every once in a while, but I can do it. I like it to flow. Anywho, most clients want their mistakes edited out. So say like for example, I recently did a interview with somebody and there was a part where my sound got messed up because I was playing around with it. And she's like, I can't hear you. So that's something that's going to have to be edited out. Also, at the beginning of every episode, you hear my music with my voice on top of the music. I had to edit that together. Actually, the husband did. And then for every episode that I release, I have to put the intro music in front of this recording. So I always have an intro before every single recording. So clients don't want to have to do all that, or maybe they love the idea of having a podcast, but they hate the idea of editing. They're going to hire somebody to do that, and that could be you. So podcast managers, they do the editing, but they also can do so much more, write show notes, create graphics that are associated with the podcast, all sorts of things. So keep that in mind. Podcast manager is a great place to get started because more and more and more people are releasing podcasts. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. So those are some of the gigs I wanted to go over. Now that's not an inclusive list. That's not all of it. There's way more out there that you could offer, but those are the ones that I want to go over. And before I hop off of here, I wanted to let you know that you should experiment with some of these ideas. Anything that sounded remotely interesting, you have to get out there and try it. Because you might try something and you love it, you might try something and you hate it. You just never know. Like in the beginning, I was sure I was going to be a website developer and offer website builds for people. And I was pretty positive about it. I was like, you know what? This is going to be great. I can do this. At that point, I had put together my first website. So one, I knew WordPress, which most people don't know, I felt. And yeah, I was like, this is an awesome service I can offer people. But the more I did it and the more I looked at it, I was like, oh man, What if somebody asks me something I don't know how to do? And then on that side with the website build, I was just not willing to put myself in that position of not being able to do something because it's so technical. But when I started out with social media management, I thought the exact same thing. What if somebody asked me to do something that I don't know how to do? But for some reason, I was more willing to figure it out with social media management than it was with website development, which I think says a lot, because that's not what I was supposed to be doing. So definitely experiment. I experimented with graphic design, and it didn't take me very long to figure out that wasn't for me, because I don't really have a design eye. It's not my thing. So it didn't take very long, but I tried different things. So don't get so hung up on just doing one thing, or even thinking the first thing I pick has to be it. No. I've pivoted so many different times, and I'm not ashamed of that. Every time I pivot, it's a good idea, it seems like. So I'm leaving behind something that no longer served me and stepping into something that could be amazing. So just think of it that way. So thank you so much for listening in. If you are still kind of on the fence and you're not sure exactly which one you should try, I want to invite you to download my free 4-day video series to help you find out your purpose. It's called the Finding Your Purpose Journey, and it's a series on how to figure out what you're good at. It will help you figure out what you're good at and what you enjoy. And I've experimented with several people on this, and it's helped several people. So I feel really good about that. That freebie, actually. It's completely free. And it's awesome. So you can find it at bit.ly/yourpurposejourney, and go check it out. It's completely free. So thank you so much for listening into the Go Rogue podcast. It means the world to me, and I will catch you next time. Be brave, take action, and go rogue.